Hey y'all, Bonnie-Jill Laflin here, first and only female scout in the NBA and current sports reporter and host, and this is Her Table.
Now you see her.
You are magnificent!
Welcome to Her Table, the podcast that shines a spotlight on the badass women who are redefining the game. Join hosts Kate Foley and Megan Martinez as they unlock the secrets of success from the brightest female pioneers in the industry.
Welcome back to Her Table. We are so excited to welcome Bonnie-Jill Laflin to the show today. Bonnie was one of the first and only female NBA scouts, where she held a front office executive position with the Los Angeles Lakers.
She holds so many firsts. Like, which is the first, Megan? I don't know which is the first, but she was the first female to be awarded 6 championship rings in 2 professional sports, earning a Super Bowl ring during her time with the 49ers, and 5, that's right, ladies and gentlemen, 5 NBA championship rings as an executive for the Los Angeles Lakers.
Beyond her accomplishments in sports, Bonnie-Jill also ventured into the world of broadcasting. She has worked as a reporter and host for various high-profile networks, including ESPN and Fox Sports. What hasn't she done? I can't wait to learn more about Bonnie-Jill, so let's get started. Welcome to Her Table.
Have you ever been put in, as you've started and gone through your career, oftentimes people perceive you as one thing and they expect you to be one thing and you turn out being the other, right? Where it's you talked earlier, like they see me and I'm not a hooper. I'm not someone that, you know what I mean? That's just not me. And they're used to seeing girls that are that in this position. So it's an uncomfortable position to be that trailblazer. And you've done that time and time and time again. How do you keep drawing from that cup every time?
It's hard. Yeah. It's hard, Kate. You get discouraged at times and you got to, for example, like I'm with the Jordan brand. I've been with the Jordan brand for a long time. But when I first was there's people like, oh, what college did you play basketball? I was undersized. I'm the guard. I played high school and I couldn't make it any further. But then all of a sudden I start talking and all of a sudden MJ will be like, oh, no, she's a scout. Like, listen to this girl talk. Like, she's the only female I know who can break down the triangle offense. We have players who couldn't even run the triangle. And then all of a sudden they're like, oh, but you're so right. It's like that perception of like, oh, one dimensional. Oh, she must be just a pretty girl who can't speak. It's like, and it's like, no, it's like we have so much more to offer. Girls I cheered with, a bunch of the Dallas Cowboy cheerleaders, people thought again, oh, they're just pretty girls, fluff on the sidelines. 3 of them are lawyers, big time lawyers. 2 of them end up being, doctors. Like, it's funny though, how attorneys, all of that stuff. And it's funny how people, their perception, it's like, that there's only one kind of situation for you. It's like, oh, they're going to end up being a trophy wife, or they're just a pretty girl. And when they turn 30s, they're done because their looks are gone. You know what I mean? So it's funny how there's so much misconception and stereotypes. And I think we've gone such a long, making big strides, Kate and Megan, but at the same time, you still see, and I'm not going to mention who it is because I actually really like her and I'm friends with her, but a female had stated that when she does her sideline reports that she doesn't talk to the coach, and so I'm sure you guys heard about this. And so
I didn't. So can you please spill the tea and educate me, even though you don't want to say?
Okay. So
Megan's like, don't do it. I'm like,
no. Yeah, so a female went on a very big sportscaster. She went on, I'm not going to say where, but she went on a podcast and she basically said that she made up her reports when she was interviewing college. She was doing
okay. I know what we're talking about. Got it.
Yeah. And so, but it was crazy how that was all kind of tongue in cheek. If you watch it, she's kind of being funny, like whatever, right? That's kind of how she is too. But you saw how so many females were so offended, so insulted because they put so much time and energy into the reports and research. Like all of us know, like I spent 2 days before, you're writing, you're watching everything. So then when that happens, it sets us back because if you looked at all the comments, it was a ton of men saying, this is why women shouldn't be in sports. This is why women should be sideline reports. This is why women shouldn't have a credential. So as much as that was funny, and if a guy did it, that would be funny and no one would talk about it. No, for a female, that set us way back.
Right.
Way back.
And it was crazy. Because it's like, you can't, it drives me nuts because it's like, again, no one would have come so hard for a guy for that. No one would have. And it's so disappointing because, yes, do we need to be aware of what we're saying in the audience? And I hate it. And Megan and I always joke when we're like not sure of something on the show because like whatever. We have real jobs.
It's a podcast. And that's
no. This is a real job. Let me not do that because someone's going to come for me on that one. This is a real job, but we have other things that we do as well. And so we're not versed in this. I didn't go to school for this. Like we don't half the time get it right. We get it wrong more than we get it right. But like I constantly catch myself being like, oh, don't come for me, or oh, I'm not sure, or like I'm not sure what this means. So you know what I mean? And you're constantly second guessing yourself in your mind to allow space for, or not allow space for those people to not allow you to be confident, right? Like, what if I get it wrong? Okay, I'm sorry. I'm a human being. Like I get it wrong, but then there's
she was kind of like joking around that she's like saying that a lot of the coaches will say the same thing after halftime. Like we all know what they're gonna. We kind of all know what they're gonna say.
No, 100%. How many times have they done it? Like literally, my guys are like, I'm like, how's shoot around? They're like, that was my 100 millionth shoot around. It was the same. And I'm like, I'm just asking you to create conversation and be engaged. And for you, it's like, it's the same as it was yesterday.
Yeah, the coaches say the same thing. Yeah. It's almost like you just know that they're going to say, you know, so what she was alluding to is that sometimes she didn't get a chance to grab Saban. So she knew that she kind of would know what he was going to say, talk about the defense, he's more aggressive or like whatever it may be. Right. And so I think that it turned bad though in a lot of her colleagues and different women in sports, as y'all know, like turn on her and still have this turn. Willie, okay, my dog keeps, if you're wondering what that noise, that's him like sighing. But it was sad.
He's aggravated too, Bonnie-Jill. He's like, I hear you. Yes, he's engaged in this one.
Yeah, and so it was kind of disheartening because, and I want to say this because y'all, I feel like will hear me out on this. The whole women empowerment in sports, it is fantastic. I love it. It's so great. However, don't say and put it on your social media that you empower women. You think they're great and this and this. But when it comes down to battle for them and to have their back, you're the first one that goes after them because there's too many women. I've gone through a lot of women where they talk about, I love mentoring women. I love empowering women. I'm like, no, I remember when I was young and I came to you and I met you and you were vicious to me because you thought I was coming for your job. So it's like, walk the walk, talk the talk. Don't put it on your social. You don't have to act like it's Women's History Month and you're all about it. Be real, but don't act like, oh, I love helping women out. I'm like, bitch, shut up. You do not like helping women. It's like, stop, you know? So I'm still not loving the fact that all these women act like they support each other when they really don't at the end of the day. So I'm just being real about it. There are a lot of women who don't support each other, you know, and it's unfortunate.
It's very sad. And I think, you know, it's one of the things, even for me, you know, it is, you learn quickly throughout my career, I've learned who is a friend of circumstance and who is a friend of choice.
Yes.
And that is how I define it, because some of these people, I'm like, I spent 10 years of my life with you and you know everything about me, but when you're not there anymore, they're not there anymore. Right. And it's disheartening because you're like, wait, I thought we were friends. Like, I thought you cared. I thought you gave a shit. Like, you know, my kids and we have this whole thing. And like,
you're friends until you're going for the same job or whatever.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. It's a friend of circumstance or a friend of choice. And then it's helped me really navigate how I want to show up. Right. Mm-hmm. For what someone didn't do for me, I try and do it better for them.
Exactly.
And so
that's
while it sucks,
my way to help
it sucks for me. But I'm like, I don't want anybody else to feel that. And I think that's just like the real and raw reality of it, because so many times there are women who have the opportunity to lean in and they can't, or they don't know how. And because sometimes you can't, sometimes someone telling you, don't do that. You're going to get producers, whether it's producers or teams or whatever, someone's giving them direction. And until they can figure it out on their own. And so many people say to me, like, how do you not be upset by this? And I'm like, oh, I'm upset, but I'm not letting it drive or dictate how I respond to it. Doesn't mean I'm not ready to like go in. It just means that like, it's not worth the energy I'm going to expend because it's not going to change.
Exactly. That's why I just kind of kill him with kindness, but I just, it's crazy. And I'm not trying to, you don't need to be best friends with every woman in sports, but you can, you know, encourage and empower and be, you know what I mean? Happy and applaud them. You know what I mean? Like, that's what I think there's certain women that really are good about that. Like Joy Taylor, she's amazing. She does this women in sports event that we all go to at the Super Bowl. And she's so good. She's also in the back of my book as someone who endorsed it. And she really is that girl. You know what I mean? She's that girl's girl. But then there's the ones that, you know, you see them for the first time, you go to shake their hand and they look at you like you're crazy and they walk away. And it's like, you're like, oh, okay, noted, got that. And you smile the next time you see them, whatever. But it's just, you know, which ones, we all know which girls are really girls, and we know the ones that aren't. I just wish that they knew that there was space for everyone. I compete against myself. I'm not competing against any other female.
Right.
So and I like to be around greatness. I like to be around people that are doing big things. And do you know what I mean? So I just am different. I like to have girls around me that are successful, that are pretty, like, I don't know. I'm just different. I like that. I gravitate like that. Some people they don't like that. And I don't know. I just wish that would be more like, you know, how we all are right now, you know, on this
for sure.
You know?
I think there's some men, and I was going to ask you too, you know, you talked about Kobe, like there are some men that lean in so hard. They lean in more than women. And so absolutely. I love when I see leadership be profoundly secure enough to bring other people along, right? Because eventually we're all going to be out of this. Everyone's going to die. We're all not going to do this forever. So like the culture and the standard that you set, it starts at the top down. And, you know, even being on the player side, right? The culture and leadership within an organization dictates the culture and leadership in the locker room, which dictates the culture and leadership within the players, which then goes into the fans, which then goes into the support staff, right? And I say all the time to my athletes, like, we were at dinner the other night and they walked out in front of me and I said, hey, no big deal, but keep in mind, I'm the only girl here. So I want you to look out for any female that you were with on a team the same way that you're going to look out for me, right? Like, that's don't ever
you said that because
but you know what I'm saying? They're just like, whatever, blah, blah. But I'm like, you know, you don't know what can happen. So you guys leave and then I'm walking behind you. Anything can happen. I wouldn't want you guys to be in that situation.
Hey, so next time that happens, because that's happened to me before, I stop. And then all of a sudden I turn around, like, what are you doing? I'm like, oh, y'all, like, first of all, y'all are 7 feet tall. So I am 5'3". It is taking me in heels a lot longer. And so can y'all just wait? Like, what are you doing? And then
but they don't. So for me as a woman, I'm like, okay, let me let you know. Because maybe no one's told you before. So it's like, hey, just make sure I get to the car safely. And it's not me being needy. It's me saying any female on a team, there's a ton of them. You need to speak to them this way, approach them this way. It's like, you know, Deion Sanders says, you know, you don't call them, you know, you can call them ma'am, their first name, or coach, whatever, but anything less than that is not acceptable. Sometimes you have to say those things because people don't know that's not okay because other women have let that be okay. And I'm not saying it for some people, it's not for me. So you have to set the standard of the way you want to be approached and spoken to and met with, as opposed to just what they're used to, because ultimately they don't know.
Absolutely right. And manners, it's like, yeah, we're still females, but I'm still like old fashioned. Like, I'm independent, a strong female. I can take care of myself, but I still, like, you better, if I meet you better stand up and shake my hand. You never sit down and shake someone's hand. Like,
I said that the other day. I said that to my guys. I was like, get up.
I've already sized you up. I'm like, wow.
Or is that say your full name? Don't just say my name's Kate. Then they don't know. I just met a girl named Kate. You have to say my name is this full name.
And I say I was raised with no ma'am, yes sir. Like, so. And then like, oh, ma'am means that you're saying I'm old. I'm like, it's called respect. No, it's nothing to do with your age. It's like I would get the belt if I didn't say ma'am, right? So it's just funny though. Like, I like the old school. I like a guy opening a door for me. I like a guy to help me with my suitcase when it's 1,000 pounds and I can't put it on the overhead. Instead of everyone just staring at me and then guys think, I wasn't sure if I could help you or not because last time I helped a girl, she got mad at me. It's like, stop. Still let a guy help you with stuff. It's like the overcorrecting again, right? I mean, I'm still a female that wants a guy to be still, you know, that traditional way that I think some men are scared to do that because they're like, oh, well, she's an independent woman. I don't want to like boundaries. And it's like, no, please open the door. Like, I've got bags. Like, please leave the door open for me.
I had to tell my boys the other day, I said, you know, you hold the door for girls and you know, they trying to teach them, you know, and then their sister came out and they didn't. And I'm like, you hold the door for girls. And they're like, she's our sister. And I'm like, she's a girl. Like, you have to spell it out. But it's so true because they're like, well, it's just her. And I'm like, no, it's The principle, because for me, like I said, those little things make a difference. And as we see more and more women in leadership positions, more and more women have different roles within teams, organizations, and sports. Everyone is different, right? Everyone responds and wants and is in a different place in their life. But the level of respect that you have and should give, it has to be consistent. It can't be, I'm only doing this because she's pretty. It's, I do this for everyone, right? So you're taking the narrative away of like, you're as a man trying to get ahead because you're doing it for the pretty one or the one in charge or the one that, so you're doing it from the lady that drives the bus to the one that checks you in to the one that signs your paychecks. You're the same consistent person. That's how they build authenticity and then comfort, right?
No, that's how you nailed it. Yeah, it's so true. And then, but then there's also the guys who are scared to go do things like, you know, I saw like when I was in one of those shuttles in the airport, they literally, this guy like stood up for one of the ladies to sit down, you know, one that take you to the terminals. And he was like, my mom would kill me if I didn't do it. But then you could tell the girl was kind of like, oh, is he hitting on me? I'm like, no, he's just being a gentleman. So there's that whole thing now where it's like men sometimes are scared to do certain things because they think that they're going to be called out because, do you know what I mean? Because that whole Me Too thing and all that stuff. So it's like, you know, there's that happy medium, right? Where you have to try to like, but I still like a guy to be a guy and to be a gentleman. And there, I think that's
all right. So if you're watching this and you're taking Bonnie-Jill on a date, you better open the door. Don't let her carry a bag. Like you might want to show up with some flowers. Like
I'm super traditional. To the point where like and this, I know this is over the top. When I'm at a dinner and I'm using the restroom, you better stand up.
Oh, wow.
That's like Southern, that's like old school. Or why do you like open the door for me to get in the car? Like, I know I have two hands to do it, but like open it for me. That I don't know. Again, it's funny because I'm so strong and independent, but those are the things that go a long way with me. Like,
I love that. No, I literally just got off a plane. I was coming in, I think from Boise or Seattle, and this older guy gets my bag and he like takes it and helps me. And like, honestly, like, it was just him doing it was so sweet. Like I probably could have gone and he's like super old. But like when I left, I literally told his wife, I'm like, you have the nicest husband because no guys ever do that anymore. And it's like, they never happen. So it's like, when you see that, it's like men in the back, look at this older man who's a vet, whatever. We love that. Women champion that. So like, let's keep it going, you know?
That's so funny you say that, Megan, because anytime a guy helps me, I'm like, oh, I'm glad there's one gentleman here on the flight because I'm super loud and obnoxious sometimes. And everyone's like looking at me. I'm like, yeah, I had a bag. You could see me sweating, trying to push it over. Yeah. And no one did anything except this guy. And then everyone gets all quiet. They're like, well, we didn't know if we wanted to help. I'm like, no, he's got it. We got the one gentleman. We're good. Thanks. The plane goes down. We'll call this guy. So it's like, because it's so funny how men don't help women anymore.
I know.
Well, I think
I will younger generation. They're really.
I will say this, the other side to that coin is it's also very intimidating. Like people always say to me all the time, like, you're so intimidating or when you are attractive and in a place of leadership or you're very comfortable in yourself, it is intimidating. Like people look at you like, if I help her, and maybe it's just, you know, I need to smile.
Yeah, hitting up on her or whatever. No.
Right.
So you're saying I'm intimidating with my sunglasses on and my Louis Vuitton with not smiling at all? That means I'm look intimidating? I know.
I guess that's what we're saying, but I'm fine with it.
Because I'm also like haven't like put on my makeup on. So I have my sunglasses on, but I look super pretentious, but then it's just because I'm tired. But yeah, you're right. There's the other side.
But at the same time, it shouldn't stop you from doing what's right, you know? And I think, you know, we went through this whole phase in sports where it was about locker room talk, right? And what's acceptable in the locker room isn't acceptable in public, right? Where, you know, and now I always say, especially to my young athletes, like, you have to be aware of everyone around you and what their level of comfort or discomfort is. Like it's funny. So we're playing the other night and they all wanted to play like skins and shirts and, you know, take their shirts off. And that's like a thing. Take off, show off my tats, blah, 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 blah. And I'm like, look, I don't mind. It doesn't bother me. I don't even pay attention, but there are other people in this gym that might make them uncomfortable. And so it's not necessarily about what you want. It's about what's in the room and the time and place to do it.
Yeah, I get to be cognizant of that.
Exactly, because that could be a decision. What could be a decision between you getting a job or not getting a job?
Yeah.
It's something as simple as that, because they're like, well, they weren't aware of these young girls in here, you know what I mean, that are interning or whatever. And it's, you just have to kind of read the room. And I think that's the lost skill, is reading the room and knowing what is the time and place to, you know what I mean, to do something, because it was social media, everything's so fast, so quick.
It's deleted. It's there forever.
Yeah, there is no deleting, right? Like it's easier to build something than it is to repair something.
Right.
And so that is kind of like my mantra with the young guys, is let's build something slowly instead of just blow it up and then I got to rebuild it. And I got broken pieces. The shit doesn't work. Like, it's a mess. So trying to get them to not want that fame so quickly, but also knowing that, I always joke, because I'm like, whoever you meet, you're going to see again. I don't care. You will see that person again at some point in sports. You will see them
in sports. It's so small
somewhere else. And so I get so mad because, you know, everyone's like, oh, agents are so difficult and they're all assholes and they're all mean. And the Puerto Rican team was in town playing USA, and their GM was like, I think all agents are assholes. And I'm like, well, they kind of are, but I'm not. So let me reframe your mind. And as he said, he's like, you're so nice. And like, you're so nice. Like, I did not expect you to be like that. And I think
that comes across the board. Entertainment agents, like their agents as a whole.
Totally. And then you have to like rework the narrative, because I'm already working against their perception of what they've seen on TV or someone they've experienced. So you have to work extra hard to break their wall down. And I try and give people that grace, because they might have had a really bad experience.
Yeah.
Right. But then I've also had really bad experiences too. So you have to give me grace of why I am the way that I am. Like, we're just people. We're just people. But it's honestly, what's been your high of your career and what has been, I say low, but that sounds kind of like depressing. What has been your high, and what has been an opportunity you wish that you did not have to go through?
I mean, there's so many lows. I hate to say that. I mean, when I mean lows, like, you know, there are so many times where just being down, just, you know, having just what I went through with the Boston Globe and so many different media outlets and TMZs and different people just attacking me. And, you know, and even when it wasn't fun, you know what I mean? It's like they were saying, you know, and you're human at the end of the day. So it's as much as I'm like thick skin, I'm like, I don't care, blah, blah, blah. You still go home, you're like, God, that sucked. That was really mean. You know? So it was, you know, you kind of go through that, and then, but it builds your character. It does build, you know, who you are. And I think it made me, like I said before, not to reiterate, but just like that, you're going to say that I can't do something, I will prove you wrong, and I'll outwork you. And, you know, that's one thing, and you can't beat me as. I will outwork you. I will come prepared. You know, there's something to be said with that. So I just always knew that I had to be kind of over the top in trying to make sure that you were going to make sure that understood that I was credible. And it may take the extra mile, but, you know, in time, you know, and it did, you know, it was, you know, but it took a long time. Even like when I was the assistant GM for the players, for the D League, it was funny because it was a D League at the time. Now it's called G League, but they literally had guys who were trying out for the team who literally were trying to hit up on me, and they're like, "That's the boss lady. Like, you can't." They call it, you know, you can't talk. You know, you can't be hitting up on her. Like, what? They're like, oh my God! And they come up to me, ma'am, I'm so sorry. Like, I thought, like, what did you think I was doing here in sweats, like on the court with like the clipboard? Like, what do you like? What's like? Anyways, but it was funny. But I'm also not that. I get it, right? I'm also aware of the fact that I'm a female that they're not used to. So I was always like, it's fine. Like, I don't, you know what I mean? And then I became so close with all of my guys, because just like how powerful you are, Kate. So it's like they end up becoming almost like your kids. You know, you want them to do well. And so there was the lows, but it was trying to find the silver lining in it all, you know, which was, you have to do that in everything. And then the high was probably just like so many highs. I mean, going from, that's so much sweeter, right? When you accomplish something because you've worked so hard. So the first being 18 years old and, you know, cheering at the Super Bowl, you know, with the 49ers, that was great because I didn't even understand what was going on really. I'm like, oh, wow. Like I'm 18 years old. I was still in high school. It was, you know, it was pretty amazing. And then being through the 5 championships, you know, with the Lakers and being so close with Kobe and Shaquille and having so many of my big brothers really helped me up, you know, when I was down and nothing, it was very much like I was like their little sister. So it was nice that they believed in me, because sometimes as much as it's great to have family support, it's also nice to have support within the organizations and within the teams and that was always nice. And then I think at the end of the day, just using my platform, being able to have my platform to do good, and doing 19 USO tours overseas for our men and women during the wars in Iraq and Afghanistan, and being able to boost morale, and being able to do my charity work with animal welfare and the troops. I think that's the biggest thing I like, is that I've been able to use my platform for good and be able to give back. And as much as it's great to have rings and to have money and success, at the end of the day, you have to pay it forward and be able to give back. And if you have that platform, like I have now, it's a lot of it is being able to pay it forward. That's really important to me as my charity work.
Yeah, I love that too. And I was saying, like, reading up on what your like philanthropy is, and like taking care of like dogs and rescue dogs and bringing them in. And I love that. How about like, I think even like writing a book is such like a big thing too for women. Can you kind of touch on that? How you got that idea, and like like how it all even started?
Yeah, it was so tough though, because writing a book is like, first of all, I had so many publishers that came to me and they're like, oh, we want you to do a tell-all book. And I'm like, what? And they're like, well, it'll be a memoir, but we want you to tell all, like, with your days with the Cowboys and with the Lakers. I'm like, oh, so you want me to sit there and talk shit about my dear, dear friends, and talk about the owner, Dr. Lee, the late Dr. Jerry Buss and Jerry Jones. And they wanted all the drama. They're like, it'll sell. I'm like, oh, I'm not an idiot. I know it'll sell. I said, but I have integrity. And I go, I don't care how much money you offer me. I want to do a book that inspires. That does not inspire. So I had no's, for almost 3 years. And finally, the publisher at Rowman & Littlefield were like, no, we know what you're trying to do. We love this. And so they gave me 9 months to write the book, which, if you know anything, 9 months is nothing to write a book and try to get all the people that I wanted. And then, have to do a Zoom and set up all the interviews and then transcribe and then write the chapters and then rewrite and get the pictures and, finalize the cover and get the endorsement. It was so much work. But then, and I was like, are people even going to be receptive to this? And then it just coincide with like what was going on with Caitlin Clark, and so much different women were on this highlight of celebrating what they were doing. And it was like, wow, this is actually goes perfect of my message and my why. Cause it's like, when your first book, I'm not making a ton of money. My publisher and my agent's making all the money. It's like, this was for me, it was just to inspire the younger generation. So it ended up being a #1 seller for Amazon on new releases. And I'm like, wow, that was the most rewarding, is being able to see that there's, the younger women and moms who are like DMing me and texting me or seeing me at book signing saying, oh my gosh, this is like so great, because I can, and the dads, who are saying, I can tell my daughter that she can be in sports and all that. The Taylor Swift, like, a lot of people are against Taylor Swift. And my take on Taylor Swift is she's bringing females to the NFL. The first time I've actually had, men say, my daughter watches football with me now. Whether it's she's waiting to see Taylor or Travis or whatever it is, she's watching football with me. And that's big. And whether you hate her or not, it's like, I love that she's brought the younger female generation. So all that was all going on at the same time as my book. And so it's been really nice to see that there is that space for women, and that, we are still have a long, strides to go, but we're getting there. And Caitlin Clark, what she has done for women's basketball and just women in sports. I'm like, I told my publisher, I'm like, I have to do a second book, because I have to have Caitlin Clark in it. I have to have Katie Ledecky in it, who's going to be a beast at the Olympics. She has got more gold medals than Michael Phelps. No one really talks about her, right? So there's so many females that need to be highlighted. And of course, I couldn't get them all in the first book. And so now I'm like, gosh, there needs to be a second book. There's so many females like yourselves that are doing things. And it's like, there's every day you hear about someone I didn't know about. I'm like, oh my gosh, I didn't know about this woman doing this. It's like, that's like the beauty of like, our community and the social media, and being able to see the women that are actually, making a difference and moving the needle.
I also just think it's so important, because you're actually telling that story. That's something, it's funny. My team gets on me all the time of like, you have to tell your story, tell what you did, be proud of your accomplishments. Like, you have to go sell yourself. Like, you have to literally go be like, I've done all this amazing shit in a short amount of time. But I'm like, I don't want to, I'm not good at it. And I'm over here telling all of my clients, like, go tell your story, go share your story. Let's build it. It's easier to do for someone else than it is to do for yourself.
Oh, absolutely.
A lot of reflection to be, because I've been trained. That's bragging. You're just showing out.
Yeah, that's what it's like. Interviews is great. I love like when I'm doing an interview, but when someone's like, Bonnie-Jill, like we're at dinner, tell us about I don't know. I don't like doing that.
That's
why But when you're pitching something, I'm like, that's why I'm my agent, because they'll say, oh, she's so great. I'm like, I'm so great. You should take on this project. That's just not, I hate that. It's like cringy to me. But it's like when you're being interviewed or asking questions, I'd rather have like, you rather have your team like pushing you out. Especially like, I don't know. It just makes me uncomfortable.
It's hard. It's so uncomfortable because you feel like you're self-advocating. You feel like you're being too much and you're, looking for attention, and you're like, no, I'm just celebrating myself. But I don't know what it was, but at some point in my life, it was, ingrained in my mind of don't do that. Don't celebrate yourself. Don't draw attention. Don't go tell everyone all the cool things you did, because it comes off as braggy or you're trying to be too much, right?
On social media, right? Oh, she's bragging, or that's like, no, you're trying to empower and inspire other women to know that that's why the wording has to be so different. And you have to it's a whole formula.
But it's so much stuff. It's exhausting. It's exhausting. It's so exhausting. And it's like, but it has to happen. And that's what I think, like having.
That's why we have to advocate for each other. That's why I'm always like sharing other women's stories and applauding them, because that helps too, because they don't want to like brag on themselves. I'm like, no, you're awesome. But it is hard. And when you're in a meeting, yes, it's easy to kind of like push your project, push yourself. But it's like when you're just generally just talking about yourself, like I said, dinner, I'm always like, oh no, this is weird. Like, I don't want to talk about myself.
I know. You know what I mean? I get embarrassed. I get embarrassed. I'm like, stop.
You're like a narcissist. You're like, oh, I'm super cool. Like, look at me. Like, that's a narcissist. Like, I date those guys. I'm not going to be that person,
No, it's definitely interesting, but I do think it's good for young girls to see, that's why for the show, that's what's so important for me in it, is to be able to give a safe space to celebrate yourself. And if you're not going to, we're going to, because I want to be what I didn't have. Right. So I want to be that person that's able to say like, and we've met so many amazing women that we're now friends with, that had we not done this show, had we not created this space, we never would have. We just had this past weekend, Beth Stentz was on our show alongside, I think she was like one of our 10th guests. She was in Phoenix with me, and she came with me to a player appearance just to see what like my life was like at Final Four with Jimmer. And she is like, this is insanity. Oh my gosh. Like, she works in sports, but she's like, this is wild. And she's like, this is so cool that you do this, because when
it's a whole level of respect of what you do.
Totally. Well, and you forget what your life is actually like. What's normal for me is not normal for someone else. And so I'm like, this isn't that cool. This is my 100th shoot around this season. Like, you know what I mean? It's another thing. So you almost have to be willing to let people love on you, celebrate you, empower you, and not push it away. Because I think that's something.
That's why you have to have a good tribe, whether it's your small, close friends, but then your tribe of like you, and like now that I know y'all, like when I go to California or when I'm out of Laker guy, I'll be like, y'all come with me. Do you know what I mean? It's it's nice to like have that, because the good. I mean, let's just be honest. The ones you're like, yeah, I'd roll with her, and the ones you're like, oh, that was cool. Like, we're probably never going to talk again, right? You know what I mean? So it's like, I was going to be honest, So it's like, hey, I'll still support you, but I'm not probably going to hang out with you. Yeah, y'all are like real, and I can see that I can like hang out with you guys.
When you're in LA, we'll go to Lakers game or Clippers.
Yeah. Exactly. Or if you guys come to Texas, like I'll take you on the Clippers game or whatever.
I want to go ride horses, like Megan. Bump that. We'll go to the ranch and ride some horses and change lives, because
and you can hold piglets and emus and do the whole thing, Kate. You will be
I'm coming. We're gonna wait. Listen, we're on this whole NASCAR thing right now because we're just engulfed in like learn, because NASCAR is just fascinating to me as a fan experience. And I know nothing about it. And so I'm like, we're just going to make a little tour, and I love the lifestyle. So we're advocating production that we want a herd table, like tour bus, basically.
Oh, I love that.
Start pulling up places and see what happens. Like, you're never
connected with Danica, because Danica, she's in Phoenix. She's in my book. And I need to connect you with her. She's
sure.
She's in Phoenix. So
done. Let's do it. Let's do it. No, well, I am so proud of you. Listen, keep championing, keep blazing, keep just building the bridge and making the step to the next place, because what you've accomplished and how much you've grown and your journey is just unspeakable. My book will be here tomorrow at 10 a.m. By the way, I just ordered it.
Oh, I love that. Thank you.
So my book will be here at 10 a.m. So I have something to do for the weekend. But I also just want you to know how awesome it is that you have been able to maintain yourself, because it's so easy to get lost in this world of sports and who you are. And I've been lost. Everyone gets lost. You've been lost.
It's kind of just being able to continually like pick up the pieces and have a positive attitude, and not, because y'all know there's so many, I mean, even athletes, it's a perfect example. Sometimes you get lost and then you start to lean on, alcohol or drugs or being around bad people. And that's sometimes it's very easy to do, right? To slip into that. So it is, like I said, it's like having your tribe, having other people support you, and just staying focused and dialed in on like the prize, constantly like, waking up each day with like something you want to accomplish. Like I have a to-do list, and it's like not just like running to go get dry cleaning, but there's like things you're wanting to accomplish, like in your career and in your like your growth as a person. And talk like I talk to a therapist. I'm very transparent about that. There's nothing wrong with that. I think it helps you grow, and because you're always trying to be better, right? Because we all have our weaknesses, and I think it just helps. But as you get older, I feel like you get more comfortable with that. Before it's like a therapist, no, I'm not like a crazy person. But then you start to see how it helps athletes, sports psychologists, and how it helps them, because so much of the game is mental. It's the same thing with us. Like if our mental health is messed up, then you're not going to be able to focus on the things that you need to, prioritize. So
what advice would you give to a younger you?
I think not caring so much about what people think of me, because I think when you're younger, you care so much about like, you want everyone to like you, and it's like, that's not going to happen. And then you get to a point where now it's like, okay, whether you like me or hate me, you're still watching me, and you kind of laugh. Right. And so it's like, it's almost like you kind of change that and you spin it. But in the beginning, it's like, you want everyone to like you, and you want it to, be perfect. And you wanted, there's so many things of that I've had to work on. But I think the biggest thing that I still haven't been able to figure out is the balance. Like I still need to be able to figure out balance. Maybe I wish I would have figured that out earlier in my career. Like I've missed so many things throughout my career, weddings and baby showers and, all these different vacations. I'm like, I can't tell you the last time I took a vacation, but it's like you think about, wow, you're making money, you're successful, but you don't want to miss out on things in life that I missed out on, or, maybe a relationship that could have worked, but I was so like, no, you're going to be in my way. You know what I mean? So there are things I think I wish I would have balanced out more, and you kind of live and you learn, but that's something that I would, probably tell, being focused and having that work ethic and being married to the game, but it is okay to have that balance. You'll get burnt out. And I've been burnt out before because you're just going down.
And you have to remember at the end of the day, like you're just a person too, I might be all of these things in leadership and all of these things, but at the end of the day, you have to figure out who Kate, the CEO is, Kate, the agent is, Kate, the mom is, Kate, the friend is, and then just who am I? At the end of the day, when it's just me sitting in a room, who am I? And you have to kind of wear all these different hats. And I think, that's one of the
being able to juggle all those hats and not be like me. I've always been like, my friends will say, you're kind of like a cyborg. You're like so robotic with things. And I'm like, yeah, because I'm kind of like, you just, I don't know. You kind of turn like that. When
the dumpster's on fire. The house water doesn't work. The car's rolling down the street because I forgot to put it in park. And I didn't pack a lunch and my phone's ringing. So which of those things am I doing at this second?
Right. Exactly. Because we're so good at multitasking, right? Women are. But it comes off sometimes. Like I think I do come off sometimes robotic in certain times when I'm just trying to get so many things done and not having a lot of emotion behind it. Because I'm just like, okay, I don't care what it is. Let's just get it done. Like let's do this and be done, So there's things all of us can work on, right? But it just,
Well, it's also being vulnerable, saying there are things to work on, because I think there's so many women that are just like, everyone thinks you're perfect. And I'm like, oh girl, please. My hair, you can buy it at the store. It's literally like, you know what I mean? Like, let's just be real about who we are and not put this misconception of like, it's not, you cry, you're upset.
Being real. Like y'all said, it's being real. Like I'm fine with showing, just being transparent that like you have your flaws and you kind of make a joke about it and you work on it, not taking it so serious, that you have to, that we all have our weaknesses. That's just like, that makes the beauty of who we are. Because otherwise that would be, you would be a cyborg, it's going to be weird.
You would be a robot. You would be a robot. Oh my gosh. Well, we're coming to the ranch.
Yes, you go come to Dallas, and then
next time you come out to Cali, come by the set. Hopefully, it's when we're there. Come by the set, we'll have a drink. We'll get some Tina's vodka and some mixers, and we'll have a nice little.
Yeah, because Megan, you're in LA, and then Kate, you're in Phoenix, but you come to LA a lot.
Yeah, we film in Orange County. We try and film like once a month.
Okay.
there, but it's an easy flight for me. Between there and Vegas, I spend a ton of time just because that's where a lot of.
And my parents live in Arizona.
Oh, do they? What part?
We're in Prescott. They have a ranch in Prescott.
Okay, that's not far. I love
Flagstaff and Phoenix. They're like an hour outside of Scottsdale.
Yeah, one of my best friends, she's from Prescott. So
okay.
Yeah, it's always funny to me. It's like the cactus, and then it's just like pine top. You know,
I know.
It's like, how does this happen? And then I live in Valley, and it's very, oak tree lined and white picket fences, and like I have real grass. So I'm not into the desert lifestyle.
Yeah.
But I'm from the South, so like I want a Cracker Barrel rocking chair, and
Oh my gosh, you're speaking my language. Cracker Barrel is
on my porch.
I know.
I am obsessed with like wraparound churches, the whole like Cracker Barrel. I have like 3 rocking chairs. Everyone's like, "Are you 80 years old?" I'm like, no. I like to rock with my dogs and have my.
And you just watch traffic go by. That's all I do. I don't really have a purpose out there. I'm just out there living my best life.
Longhorns and my cows.
Yeah. He's like Cardi B and Beth Dutton are your spirit animals.
Yes, that's Dutton. I love that you know her, Kate. She's the best.
I have to channel Beth sometimes. I'm like, okay, Beth, here we go. This is. Have you seen Yellowstone, Megan?
No. So I'm like,
you have to watch.
I know my dad loves it.
She's like a villain, but like in a really fun way.
And she just takes no shit. She just, it's not going for it. Like, nope, not today. And she's beautiful. So it's just kind of like
her best line that she said, "I'm the tornado and you're the trailer park." And I'm like, oh my gosh, that's like the best. Like
that needs to be on a shirt.
She goes, and I'm the tornado and you're the trailer park. And I'm like, oh my God, that's so good.
That was good. I'll have to watch it. I'll watch it.
It's so good.
So good. Okay. It's pretty good.
We're gonna catch up in real life soon. Thank you so much for coming on. Loves having you. I hope we get to see you in person soon. But thank you for being you.
Yeah, y'all are great. Congratulations on all this. It's an amazing platform. And yes, let's get together sometime for sure.
Let's do it. Megan, the energy in that was just wow. Like literally Bonnie-Jill can do it all. She is in the front office. She's a scout. She's an author. She was in pageants. She's now on her ranch in Fort Worth, Texas with 12 acres of land. She has done so many things. It's almost like hard to encapsulate that in this show. I think we might have to have her on for another episode.
100%. I just loved learning about her journey, where she started, how she was a cheerleader for 2 different NFL and NBA teams. She's getting rings, and she was a scout for the Lakers. Like, that is such a great accomplishment. And for her to be on the show, I was like literally like fangirling. Wow. Oh my gosh. Like, she's amazing. Bonnie-Jill, like, wow, let's hang out. She's so cool. And she's done so much in her career.
It's really cool too, when you think about how authentic she was. And I think we've talked about this on other shows. She had imposter syndrome a little bit. She was dressing a certain way, talking a certain way in order to fit in, that chameleon effect. And, she's now championing for women why they don't want to do that and why they shouldn't have to do that. And to listen to her stories, I feel like she just has so many stories and experiences we can all draw from and learn from. I think for me, watching as a woman in the NBA, another woman have a guy lean in, right? And say, we want to have you try this, right? That's what happened to me. I had so many male bosses that said, you should try this, or we're going to pull you over here and move you to a different department, division. You would be really great at this. Sometimes you forget it's okay to champion for yourself.
Yeah.
And hearing her remind us of that, that you have to raise your hand, you have to lean in, and you have to champion for yourself, or you're going to miss opportunities.
Yeah, no, I loved it. I thought it was such a good interview, and for just like the young girls that watch our show, like young women, like to look up to her and see like what she's done in her career. And literally nothing is impossible. Like, you can write a book if you want. You can be on air for like the biggest networks, or you can just be on a ranch, which is so cool, like in and itself. So I can't wait to meet up with her in Vegas. Like, it'll be so much fun.
I know. I feel like our round table with Tina's vodka is going to be fantastic when we sit there and just break out the stories. I think it's going to be great. But thank you guys so much for joining. We hope you enjoyed Bonnie-Jill. Amazing human being, trailblazing woman, perfect guest for us here at her table. We'll see you guys next week. Make sure you like, subscribe, and let us know who you want to see next. We'll see you guys soon.